Hello and welcome to class 6 computer science. The chapter that we are going to discuss today is computer language. This is the part 2 of the series on computer language and this is the final part. If you haven't watched part 1 of this particular chapter, I have given the link in the description. You can always go and check it out. Okay, so the topics that we'll be focusing on today is that on the types of languages and translators. Okay, so let's revise the topics which we have learned in the previous class. We'll not go into the depth of those topics. We'll just touch the topics heading by heading. So we learned about the use of a language, why a language is used. We learned about the set of instructions which is called as a program. We learned about the concept of programming. We saw about the types of computer languages which were machine language, assembly language, high level language and fourth generation language, but we discussed only machine language in details. We learned about the advantages and disadvantages of machine language. Today let us go to the next type of computer language, which is the assembly language. So what is an assembly language? It uses mnemonic codes or symbols in place of zeros and ones. So in case of machine language, we used only zeros and ones, but in case of assembly language, we will not use zeros and ones. Instead of zeros and ones, we will use certain mnemonic codes which are similar to English alphabet, like add A, B, C equals to A plus B. We will use this type of certain codes in assembly language. Okay, so it is a machine dependent language. That means if you are writing assembly language for one computer, it may not run in a different architecture of computer. Okay, that means it is machine dependent. That means the codes will be different from machine to machine. Programming in assembly language is easier as compared to machine language. Let's see the validity of this particular point. Programming in assembly language is easier as compared to machine language. Why? Because let's say to write this particular sentence, these are written in what language? These are written in, let's say, assembly language. But if we have to write it in the machine language, let's say we have to write like this. 0 1 0 then 0 0 1 1. Okay, then for this line, let's say we have to write. Now which will be easier for you to learn? These will be easier for you to learn, or this will be easier for you to learn? Obviously the assembly language will be more easier to learn. Where I have written all these codes, I have written all this code in machine language. So in case of machine language, all the codes are written only in the form of zeros and ones. So it is difficult for a common man to learn machine language. Therefore, with the help of assembly language, some user-friendly codes are used so that a normal person without much knowledge can also go and start his journey on computer science. Okay. So let's come to the next point, which is it is time consuming. Yes, even though it is a bit easier as compared to machine language, but still it is time consuming because it is machine dependent also. If you are writing a particular code for one machine, it will not run in a different machine. So it is also known as low level language. So even though it has the work of the programmers has become easier in assembly language, but some type of complexity is still there. Therefore it is also known as low level language. Now you know that computers can understand only one type of language, that is machine language. So you may ask, if computers understand machine language, we are writing it in the form of assembly language, how can a computer understand it? Computers can understand it with the help of some programs known as translator programs. So what is the use of translator programs? These type of programs are used to convert a source program. What is a source program? Whatever codes we are writing in assembly language, it is known as source program. So whatever we wrote here, that means these are the codes, so it can be said as the source program. Okay, so these translator programs are used to convert a source program in one form to machine language. Okay, so these translator programs, the main work of translator program is to convert the source program into machine language. What is the source program? The programs or the codes that are written in assembly language are called source programs. Okay, so there are three types of translator programs. Let's see them one by one. The first is assembler, second is compiler, and the third is interpreter. I'll go into the details of all these three types of translator programs. So why were translator programs required? Translator programs are required because computers can understand only machine language. So if we are giving any other code except machine language, then we require the help of translator programs. So let's begin with assembler. So what is assembler? Assemblers are used to convert the codes written in assembly language into machine language. Why this conversion is required? I am repeating again, because computers can understand only machine language. So whatever we are giving it to them, computers cannot understand it. So for making the computer understand, we require the help of assembler. Let's go to the definition. So the type of translator programs that converts a source program in assembly language to machine language is called a assembler. Next, we'll go to the next point, which is a program written in assembly language is called a source program, which I already discussed in the previous line. What is a source program? Whatever programs we are writing in assembly language, these are known as source programs. The program converted into machine language by assemblers is called object program. Okay, so assembler does the conversion from assembly language to machine language. So whatever conversion is done, so from this to this, who will do the conversion? It will be done with the help of assemblers. And this program's code which we will be writing, these are known as source program, and the converted codes are known as the object program. Okay, is it clear? I hope so, it is clear. Next, we go to the next type of computer language, which is high level language. What is high level language? It is a simple language that uses English language for programming. So high level language makes our job of programming even much more simpler. Why? Because it uses common English words for programming. Okay, it is simple and user friendly language. It is simple. Why? Because we already know the English language. Okay, and based on that English language, the high level language is formed. Therefore we can say that it is a simple and user friendly language. It is machine independent. It's a very big advantage of high level language. Machine independent means if you are writing programming codes in high level language in one computer, it will run in all other computers. You need not write the same program differently for different programs, for different computers. Therefore it is called machine independent. Okay, so examples of high level language are basic, C, C++, Java, Python, etc. So these are some examples of programming language which fall under the category of high level language. In class 6, you will be basically dealing with the programming language basic. Next, so computers cannot understand even high level language also. Therefore, some translator is required. What type of translators are required? Compilers and interpreters are required. Okay, let's see the working of both. So what is the work of compiler? At first, what is a compiler? It is a translator program. What is its work? Let's see here. So a compiler converts a program written in high level language to a program in machine language in one go. That means at once it will translate the entire thing. Let me explain you with the help of an example. Let's say this is you and this is one unknown person. Okay, let's say you understand Hindi, but your friend understands only Tamil. Okay, and your friend also does not understand Hindi and you also do not understand Tamil. So what you can do, you can bring a third person who will do the work of translator. Now how can the translation happen? So if you are saying like mera naam Raj hai, okay, so he will not translate mera naam Raj hai to Tamil letter by letter. He will at first wait for you to complete the entire sentence and then translate it to your friend. Let's say his name is Raj and his name is, let's say, Samir. So at first, let's say you are giving your complete speech in Hindi. Let's say it is a 5-minute speech. So this is the third person. Okay, what the third person will do? Third person will listen to your speech carefully. While you are saying the things, it will not interrupt you. It will just listen everything. Now after 5 minutes, when you will complete your speech, then he will translate everything into Tamil at once. Okay, and in the in between, if you do some mistakes also, then also the third person will not interrupt you, but he will interrupt you when you will complete your complete speech. Okay, so it converts the programs written in high level language to machine language in one go, that means at once. So the type of translator programs that converts a source program in high level language to machine language in one go is called as a compiler. Next, it converts the entire program at once. Okay, it will not translate line by line or sentence by sentence. It will translate it at once. That means at first it will wait for you to complete the entire program. When you complete the entire program, it will translate everything at one go. Errors, if any, are removed at the end. That means if you make some mistakes in between also, it will not interrupt you in between. At the end, it will say that these are the errors. Its execution speed is very fast. Why it is very fast? Had it been done line by line, the speed would have been slow. That means you are writing one line, it will be translated to machine language. You are writing the second line, it will be translated to machine language. This process would have taken much more time. But here, as the translation is happening at once, so the execution speed of compiler will be very fast. The next type of translator which we require is the interpreter. How does an interpreter work? So interpreter's work is also to convert the programs written in high level language into machine language, but there is a condition. It does it line by line. It will translate the codes line by line. For example, if we look at our previous situation, then what can be done? Instead of translating the things line by line at once, let's say you are saying one sentence, then it will be translated to Tamil. You are saying the second sentence, it will be translated to Tamil. So translation can happen two ways, at once also, line by line also. If translation happens at once, then what will happen? Then it is the work of a compiler. If translation is happening line by line, then it is the work of a interpreter. Okay, so if translation happen line by line, it is done with the help of whom? It is done with the help of an interpreter. So let's go to the definition. The type of translator programs that converts a source program in high level language to machine language line by line is known as an interpreter. So it converts the entire program line by line, as we have already seen. Errors, if any, are to be immediately removed. So if you are translating line by line, if you are making an error in one line, you have to immediately remove that particular error. Without removing an error in one line, it cannot proceed to the next line. It is slow in execution speed. Obviously, if you are translating your sentences line by line, then it will take more time as compared to translating it at once. Next, we come to the last type of computer languages, which is fourth generation language. It is much more simpler as compared to even high level language. Okay, so it uses natural language that attempts to get closer to human language in terms of thinking and conceptualization. Okay, it uses natural language, that means the programs written in fourth generation language will be similar to the way in which we talk naturally. Okay, so it is very user friendly, as it is easier as compared to high level language. Also it is very much user friendly. It has a very high speed of execution. Its speed of execution is very fast. The programming effort required is less. Okay, as it is closer to human way of thinking, the programming effort required is very much less. In case of fourth generation language, the main aim is to write instructions for getting the work done rather than the steps required to do it. Let's understand it with the help of an example. So let's say this is your mother. She may give you an instruction in two ways. Let's say she has asked you to bring a packet of milk from the to bring a packet of milk. Let's say mother is saying that bring a packet of milk. Okay, he has said it to you. Let's say this is you. Then it's up to you and it's your wish how you go to that shop, from which shop you buy, but your mother is concerned only with one thing, that she requires the packet of milk. Mother has not given you the steps in which you have to buy the packet of milk. But if instead of this statement, if your mother says that go to this particular shop by this particular road and then you will buy the packet of milk only from this shop. Let's say your mother says that at first you move right, then you go left, then you go for 20 minutes in one direction, and then you will get this shop, let's say ABC stores, and there you will meet the shopkeeper, ask the shopkeeper to give this particular packet of milk, and then you will come by the right and then again turn left, and then you will reach our home. So in the second situation, your mother is giving you the complete step-by-step instruction as to how to go to the shop, by which direction to follow, and from which shop to buy. So if your mother is giving instructions step by step, that means if your mother is saying you the steps in which you need to go to the shop and buy the milk, then it is an act of high level language. But if your mother is saying you just go and buy a packet of milk, then your mother is just ordering you to buy the packet of milk. It's up to you how you go and buy the milk. So fourth generation languages does exactly that. Here we are concerned with getting the work done, and not when we are not concerned with how the work is to be done. How it will be done, it will be dependent on the computer. So we will just give the computer instructions in case of fourth generation language, and it will do the work for us. But had it been high level language, we would have to give the complete step by step instructions, and by following those steps the program will be executed. So as you can see, fourth generation languages are much more easier as compared to your high level language. It is a machine independent language. Okay, it also has the advantage, if you write a programming code in fourth generation language in one computer, it will run in all the other computers without any difficulty. So some examples of fourth generation languages are SQL and some Lisp and some other programming languages are also there, which are not required at this level. It will be required at higher level. So that's all for this particular chapter. Let's try to revise what we have learned. So we talked about assembly language, then we talked about the translators, assemblers, compilers, interpreters, then machine language, and finally we dealt about fourth generation language. So what are the types of languages? The types of languages are machine language, assembly language, then yeah, your this one high level language and fourth generation language. Sorry, here I should have written high level language. Then what are the types of translators? Assembler, compilers and interpreters. The work of all the translator is same. They will convert a program into machine language, but the way in which it does is different. So based on it, you are asked to write the answers of certain questions, which are: what are the characteristics of assembly language? Name the translator programs available for translation. What is meant by high level language? Differentiate between a compiler and interpreter. What are the characteristics of fourth generation language? What do you mean by assemblers? Okay, I hope it is clear. So thank you very much.